Hi everybody, it's Geordie from Geordie's Cards. Thank you so much for joining me today. I am creating some beachy themed Christmas cards today. These are completely die cut. There's no stamping apart from the tiny little sentiment there. So I wanted to make something that was die cut, and I wanted to have a play around with these Christmas palm tree dies that I recently got from Lawn Fawn. And I thought this was going to be quick and easy. It really wasn't. There was a lot of die cutting involved, but it was a lot of fun, so I enjoyed doing it. I made 5 cards, so I did 5 of each. So I die cut everything out 5 times. And yeah, that's probably what took the longest. So now I'm just going to assemble my little palm tree. So the first thing I'm assembling is the little string of lights that wraps around the palm tree trunk. And what I've done is I've just I've cut out cardstock in different colours. So I've used some red, some blue, some yellow, some pink, and then some Lawn Fawn Pixie Dust cardstock, which is this nice sparkly white colour. And I just thought that I'd add a little bit of sparkle in here because it's Christmas. So these dies are perfect for where I live here in the UAE, where it is hot all year round, and it's definitely warm at Christmas time. It's beautiful temperature at Christmas time. It's normally kind of mid to late 20s Celsius, which is absolutely gorgeous. It's a beautiful time of year here, but it is definitely a beachy kind of Christmas. We don't get snow. We're not snuggled up in the cold. So I thought that these dies and the stamp set, but the stamp set Beachy Christmas that kind of goes along with this would be perfect. So I'm just figuring out how I'm meant to be threading these through. So the little string of lights actually just threads around the palm tree trunk, which I think is awesome. And now I'm just using a little bit of liquid glue to adhere that down so that it stays put and doesn't wriggle around. So just a little bit of glue on the back of the lights that are kind of overlapping the tree trunk. And I've cut this tree trunk from some Lawn Fawn Woodgrain cardstock in the light brown colour, just to add a little bit of extra texture and detail. I'm not sure it really is that noticeable because most of it's covered up, to be honest, but I just wanted to do that, and I had some scraps lying around that I wanted to use up. So that's what I did. Now the top of my tree is cut from Lawn Fawn Cilantro cardstock, and you could definitely do some ink blending on this. You could add some Copic markers. I was going for quick and easy and decided just to leave it as is. But I do think that the effect is still really, really cool, especially when you add these little coconuts. So these are cut from some Lawn Fawn, I think it's chocolate bar cardstock. Now the palm trees I have outside my window here are not coconut palms, they are date palms. We don't get too many coconut palms around here, but you know what, it's kind of the same thing, isn't it? Slightly different fruit. So now I've got the little strings of lights that come with the die set. Now I have cut 3 for each tree. So 2 from one shape and 1 from the other shape. So one's kind of more elongated and one's round. And then there's these kind of extra little details you can add on top to create the coloured baubles, which I think is really, really cool. And I'm just going to add a little bit of liquid glue to the end of the stems of these so that they can hang from the leaves of my little palm tree. And you could add more if you wanted to, but I just decided that 3 was kind of a good number, and I'm adding 2 to one side and 1 to the other side. Now I kind of alternated this on different cards, so they're not always in the same spot, and my baubles are not all the same colour. I cut them from all the different coloured cardstocks that I'd used for the lights. So there's a little bit of difference between cards, but overall they're pretty much the same. So just to add a final little bit of detail, I am going in with my Sakura Jelly Roll pen in white to just add some highlights on top of everything. And I just kind of like the way that this makes it pop. And because I'm not doing anything else, I just thought that this was the kind of easiest way of adding a little bit of extra detail. Now the lights have kind of like a die cut shine line on them, if that makes sense. So I've just gone over those with my white Jelly Roll pen. Now there is also this little grass piece in the die set. In fact, there are two different styles of grassy piece. I've cut one of them out. This is from Noble Fir cardstock, and again I'm just adding some white gel pen to that. So here are my 5 Christmas trees all cut out and ready to go. Now once I'd done that, I kind of didn't know what to do and I decided to pull out these stitched scallops square frames that I've recently got from Lawn Fawn, and I cut the second largest size. Then I took some Watercolor Wishes paper and some Spiffy Speckles paper. These are 6x6 paper pads. So what I did is I took that orangey color, I cut one of the sheets down into quarters, so it's 3x3, and then I used on the blue part, I created a wave detail with my stitched wave dies, and on the Spiffy Speckles yellow paper I created kind of a sandbank, and now I'm just going to layer these up together so that they create a little bit of a kind of beachy feel theme. Excuse the big plaster I have over my thumb. I managed to cut my thumb earlier. It wasn't bad, but it had been bleeding a little bit and I really didn't want to get blood on anything. So I just put a little band-aid on just to be safe. Now, because these are 3x3, I'm trimming them down to 2 7/8 because that is the size that fits inside the frame. So I'm just trimming off each end a little bit to get them down to 2 7/8 so that they fit inside that stitched scallop frame. So you can see it just kind of pops in there. And my little palm tree is going to go on the top. So I have taken a white top folding card base, 5.5 by 4.25 inches, and using the Beachy Christmas stamp set, I have stamped out a sentiment inside which says Season's Greetings, and I've also stamped out that Christmas palm tree. Now I have Henry's ABCs, and I've cut them out from that same Watercolor Wishes paper that I used for my background, and in that same orangey reddish color. And I have created the word warmest. Now, obviously, this is going to be a slight pun, bit of a play on words, because obviously I've got a nice beachy Christmas card, and I'm going to have the sentiment that says warmest wishes. Now, this literally just squeezed on. It was a bit of a tight fit. So I had to be quite careful when I was gluing everything down that I spaced everything out so that it did actually fit in. And it worked out fine, but it was a bit of a close call. I hadn't planned this card out at all. All I knew was that I wanted to use that Christmas palm tree die set, and as far as that was concerned, I had a lot of fun. But then after that, I was like, don't really know what I'm doing. So I came up with this little scene idea and this kind of punny sentiment, which obviously comes from the stamp set. Actually, the Beachy Christmas stamp set, there's the same sentiment in there. So I just took that and used die cut letters instead of using the stamped sentiment. And but yeah, it was a close call. I hadn't planned it out. Thankfully, it worked in my favor. But had I had one extra letter on there, it definitely would not have worked. So I'm just kind of laying these down, and they're not perfectly straight. I kind of like these Henry's ABCs because they're quite forgiving if you don't get everything down straight. They're a little bit kind of fun looking anyway, so a little bit of wonkiness isn't going to hurt. So once I have that down, I've taken that second part of the sentiment, which is the bit that I stamped out that says wishes. I've just stamped that onto some white cardstock and black ink, and I've added a little bit of foam tape on the back, and I'm going to pop that up onto the right hand side of my sentiment there, just on top, so it says warmest wishes. Now here is that stitched scalloped frame that I had cut earlier. I've added some foam tape to the back of it, and I am going to center that up onto the top part of my card base. Now this is always easier said than done, especially when you have quite a thin die like this one, but it worked out fine. And now I'm going to drop in that little piece that I had created for my scene at the back, just using some liquid glue so it adheres flat to the card base. Once that is done, it is time to add my gorgeous palm tree. Oh, sorry, I forgot my little piece of grass. So we're going to stick this in first, which is going to go into the bottom right-hand corner of my little scene with a little bit poking out the top. Once that's done, now I can bring my palm tree in. So I have taken the time to add foam tape on. Obviously parts are going to be overhanging that frame, so I haven't added foam tape where that's going to overhang, and I am just going to use a little bit of liquid glue there instead. I think this is what was so time consuming. Obviously I had to do this 5 times for my 5 different cards, and yeah, it did take quite a while. But it was fun and it turned out kind of cute in the end. So I'm just laying this down. As I say, I want to have it overhanging that frame a little bit, so it's kind of a little bit further forward in the scene. And that is it. My little Christmas card is done, and I repeated this 5 times to make 5 in total, and here they all are. So some are slightly darker with the kind of darker orange, and some are lighter, but they've all got the same kind of thing going on. So I hope you enjoyed this one today. If you did, please do give it a thumbs up. Please leave a comment. I'd love to hear from you. And please do subscribe to my channel. I'd love to see you come back again. Thanks for joining me.